And then, I don't know if you remember, but a couple of years ago, Sonoma County tried to organize, or not tried to, did organize different community networks, where instead of us just being individuals, they aligned us with some other groups. And so, kind of building on that, one thing that Cindy's done this year is have these community groups and getting together. So instead of being whatever your little community is or big community, but you're merging together and sharing ideas, having more people that get together. So I think it's a phenomenal idea. When you think about our government and fire personnel, you know, if you want like a Lance McDonald to come out, then it makes it easier on him too if he's doing it once rather than 4 times. So very efficient. I would highly recommend you talk to Cindy about how you might pursue that further. And then, is there anybody here who's just never been to one of these quarterly leadership meetings before? Please stand up. Say your name. Dana Eaton, all right. Jonathan. Okay. And then, who is this fabulous lady here in the front?
I am the chairman's mother.
All right, so this is our agenda tonight. I think it's a rock solid agenda. I appreciate Nancy Brown, who leads our program committee, and putting this all together. Hopefully, well, so we're going to go through a couple things. One, we have John Mills from Watch Duty, who's going to speak. We have Ofer from Meter Me that's going to speak to us as well. And then we have an opportunity to go around to the different tables where we can really learn more about the apps and get very specific questions. And I know this is a very sophisticated group. You probably already have these apps on your phone, but it's an opportunity to better understand them, ask questions, and be able to go back to your communities and share those with your neighborhoods. And then we'll come back together at the very end and have a little closing as well as some announcements that we have. Cindy, am I missing anything? No? Okay. Okay, oh, and then I also wanted to acknowledge some of our CERT volunteers. Yay, CERT. Hopefully everybody's familiar with CERT, but they're going to help us tonight with doing some of these apps. So right on. Thank you guys for being here and volunteering your time. Without further ado, John Mills, who's co-founder and CEO of Watch Duty. When I was doing a little bit of research, I had the opportunity to check out his TED Talk from Atlanta. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And then Watch Duty is just, it's on, unintended, it's on fire. It's taken off, especially, I know, with the fires that they had down in LA, crazy numbers, the stats of people have signed up. And it's also been one of the top 100 most influential companies according to Time. So, right on. John?
Yeah. Absolutely. Is this thing on? Oh, there we go. Great. Should I start again? I'll start with thank you. Thanks everyone for inviting me to COPE and really helping me learn some of the ups and downs of living out here. And so it's through the experiences that I had with you all and living here that I came up with this solution to part of the problem. There are lots of problems to discuss. I'm only going to talk about alerts today. You can call Lance clients. I'll give you a cell phone number if you want to talk about your issues and insurance. He's your gardener. So, you know, long story short, I think the most important thing, well, let's start with this. Who doesn't have watch duty on their phone? I guess we haven't engaged audience. That makes it a little bit easier. But what's important to understand about emergency alerts in general is, so, you know, as much as I love watch duty, I still have Pulse Point, I still have the Shake app, I still have radios, I still subscribe to SoCoAlerts and Nixle and all those alerts. The most important thing that I always remind everybody is this is a belt and suspenders situation, right? So you need multiple ways to get information. If watch duty is up, which has never gone down, we take all the information from all those sources and put it into watch duty, so it is in one place. But God forbid something bad happens, and there's an issue, you need to understand that you need to listen to your officials, whatever they're telling you, whether it's enough or not, at least you're getting something. But really what I realized after going through a lot of fires is that most of the information is not being spread from officials. Now, mostly because people like Lance and I are actually dragging the hose in the woods, not manning the phones. And the people who do man the phones, or women the phones, are also trying to do resource ordering, also getting phone calls left and right. It's very hard for them to spend their time doing what the watch duty radio operators do. And all they do is radio reporting. So all they do is listen 24 hours a day to the teams of first responders, and that's where the best intelligence comes from. So again, we have the Nixles, we have the WIA alerts, we have all the information that all feeds into our infrastructure, where we're sifting and sorting that information 24 hours a day with hundreds of people who are always doing that. And so it's really important that you do not just rely on one information source, ours included. I would absolutely ignore Facebook and Twitter and Nextdoor personally, but that's just my personal opinion. The comment sections are dangerous and spread misinformation constantly. And I've even had well-intended neighbors tell me wrong things constantly. I see a fire in the woods and I see this, and it just ends up spiraling out of control. And so trying to listen to professionals is my recommendation, first and foremost. So you've all downloaded Watch Duty, great. Some of the information that you saw on the screen there is in Watch Duty. For example, PurpleAir, you don't need an app for that. That's all in Watch Duty. There's more information coming in the future as well. Later this year, we're going to be going into floods and other severe weather. So soon, we will do all disasters. So we'll also do what the earthquake apps do and the rest of them, because a lot of them, again, are either point solutions or they're lackluster information saying evacuate, or saying the earth is shaking. Like, I know that, but now what do I do? Right? So where's my evacuation zone? Where are the temporary evacuation points? Where do I go find food, shelter, lodging, things like that information? That is all currently or coming into Watch Duty. So at some point, you'll be able to, again, get more of that information aggregated in one place and hopefully make your life easier when you're in a situation under duress, not having to remember which app to do where and how this all works, which we've all been through it and it's painful. And really, it should be much easier. And so we're going to continue to set out to do that and make this easier for all disasters. I like to remind people that we're not building a weather app. We're only there for when there's bad weather, not when it's raining hard, when rivers are flooding and the roads are getting clogged is when we'll start jumping into action. So we're kind of sitting in a little niche of the world that really hasn't been looked at, right? There's 1,500 weather apps, some of them come on your phone and you can use them. We're not going to go tell you to get your circuit board. We're going to tell you to run to the hills, right? So we sit in a very specific place in the world. I like to tell people that we're the app they want you to have and never want to need, but we're there for you when you are in need. And so that's really our sweet spot where we're sitting. Now, I'll talk a little more at my table after this, but I can show some of the other features in the app if people are curious to see them up on the screen. That's a use of time today. I'm not sure how much time I had. I had very little briefing. My car just broke down the street. So a little chaotic getting here today, but that would be of value.
Hey, John, do you say talk about donating, and I mean, that's, I don't know, you're going to bring that up more because I think that's important.
Yeah, I'm never good at asking for money, but we are a nonprofit 501c3, and so all the information you see on Watch Duty, which we're try and pull up in a second, is free. All life and safety information is available without an email, without a sign up, without a login, without a phone number, none of that nonsense. And it's always there. But if you'd like to support the nonprofit for $25 a year, you'll get some extra features in the app. My favorite being the flight tracking, so you can drive the helicopters, the different planes, and so you can see all that information. And that also supports the nonprofit. We're a member-supported nonprofit organization, and so rather than give you a tote bag or to get an NPR, we're going to give you some extra features because we're a digital company. And so that's really helps support us and supports the free version as well. So thank you for the tea out there. But remember that you don't have to give us any money. You will get what you need without that. I think most of you know that anyway, but you know, I should be hawking for dollars any chance that I get. I'm a professional fundraiser who does that for me, so I don't have to do that anymore. But every dollar counts, so I really appreciate that. Let's see if I can pull this up here, if this is gonna work. Okay. So, do this. Also, how many of you guys know that we have a web browser that you can use as well? You guys know that? Did not know that. Okay, great. Well, I'm glad we're showing this today. Computer's a little slow, but it'll show up. Okay, the web browser URL is just app.watchduty.org. You'll see the same thing that you see in your small phone, but we're on the internet, so that's gonna be a struggle. Do we have one here?
Yeah, no, this one.
Yeah, it's
This one. And the captive.
Okay. I don't have free Wi-Fi in the woods. This is great. Okay. Great. So we'll try this again. Sorry, everyone, my car went to break down today. We'll be a little more prepared, but. So look, you're getting an ad right there for signing up for flight tracking. But I'm gonna say maybe later. Okay. Oh. Put the screen this way. Really slow. So look, we see a lot of green fires. You guys know what that means? Everyone knows. It's Odyssey. Who am I talking to? You guys should be running this whole thing here. So, WatchDuty is purposely done simple looking, but there's a lot of things hidden underneath the hood here. One of the first things I'll show you guys I just saw on the screen there was PurpleAir. So, in the right-hand menu, this slowly loads, is really everything that you could possibly want, and then some that you don't, most likely, but it's loading very slowly. Historical fire perimeters, if you're curious of the past burn scars, that helps you understand what's going on around you. I was doing the satellite hotspots on perfect as well. They are delayed, and it will say here the delay. They are, unfortunately, arcane satellites that we paid for a long time ago and are still operating, but they're very slow, but at least you can see a little bit, but do not expect anything real time. Ironically, if the fire happens and the satellite passes over, it will catch it immediately, but it won't catch it again until 12 or 24 hours later. So it's not a sign of what's actually happening, but it does help to show you, especially intensity when it's getting really big, what it looks like. So I leave these two on personally. They don't bug me very much. Flight tracking, as you saw there. Power outages are really powerful. It's not just California now, it's all of America. And believe it or not, our data is better than PG&E and others. So it will tell you why it's down, if I can find one. It will tell you why it's down, when they expect the recovery time to happen. And then we also update more frequently than PG&E as well. So if you want to know any information, I would highly recommend that layer. When you zoom in an area, you'll see yellow with electric bolts on it. You'll figure out what it is. You can click on anything, which I'll show you, to get a description as to what it actually is. Same way I click on a fire to get more information. You can also click on a polygon, which is just a shape on the map, and I'll show an example of that when we find one. Let's go show you some other stuff. Wildfire cameras, you guys probably all know that. The mountaintop cameras everywhere from west are all in here as well. I have those on constantly. Because I'm always looking, see what's going on. Weather is something new that we've done that I use constantly as well. So we have the weather stations, which will show up in a second. And then we also have wind direction. I'm guessing you guys know about the wind layer? Yeah. Great, let's see if that loads. Wind, see little wind particles, there's one right there going. So those are really helpful. And sorry, if I zoom in, now you're gonna see a bunch more stuff that's look quite noisy. These are the cameras. But we should see weather stations here soon. As we zoom in here. A little slow. Okay, so now we can see the actual weather stations themselves. And you'll see they're almost always going the proper direction with the little gray wind particles that are moving, but there's a lot of times where the computer models think the wind's going some way, but if you see like a weather station with the arrow pointing the other direction, it's often because that's in a canyon or getting other winds. As we all know, in California, you get microclimates everywhere. 2 ridges over, you get a different weather pattern, and so this helps you kind of get some insight as to what the wind is doing. And then on your mobile device, which is really cool, so now you can see some history here. If you click on these things, you can see what the conditions look like. We're going to be adding a future forecast as well. And what's really cool on your phone is that you can set alerts on weather stations now. So you can say, let me know when the wind hits 70 miles an hour on this peak, and it'll send you a notification. So it makes it easier for you to go about your life and look away and not worry about, you know, the red flag warning says 7 p.m., it's not windy yet. Well, if you really want to know, you can pick the one nearest to you and say, let me know when the wind hits 50 miles an hour, it'll send you a push notification with a different sound, so it won't freak you out so much. And then you'll know that that's actually happening. Another great one that we just launched, let's talk about PurpleAir. So PurpleAir has been here for a while, but now, let's see, here's a red one. Same thing, so you can click on it, and you can see some information about it. Look, it looks like it's going up and getting worse. Also on your mobile phone, on this same screen here, you're able to send a notification for AQI. So now, especially if you have, you know, run a ranch or have vineyards or monitoring school children, you have a certain AQI, you have to send kids home or send your workers home. So now you can do that for free in Watch Duty. Send a notification to yourself, so let me know the AQI gets unhealthy, and it'll notify you. So again, no more looking and hunting, right? When I go back to your daily life, weather apps can give you the weather, this is the thing you set in pocket, and you forget about it, and it will tell you when you need to care. And so that's really kind of the ethos, if you haven't figured this out yet, of Watch Duty is we want you to spend time in your life, not time looking at a screen. And so you can set it and forget it. That's really kind of what I wanted to remind you guys today, some of the newer features that have come out. I think that might be, and the pro stuff you guys can't see on here, I can show you on my phone, but those are the core things that you really need to know, see, and use. And of course the fire cameras, just in case you ever click on one, everything is clickable. And so click and explore. It isn't that hard of an app, it just takes time to kind of sit down and poke around and realize that it is really powerful, but it looks really dumb. And that's on purpose, right? So it's not overwhelming. So those are all my updates on the app. Maybe I should take a question or two if anyone has any questions around this specifically.
John, when we help our community sign up, is it best to advise people to just ask for alerts by their county? Is that what you suggest?
That's the only way our app works.
Okay.
So when you sign up, you probably had the app for 4 years now, but if you deleted it and reinstalled it, it would take you through a wizard. It'll say, hey, do you want apps for this county? Looks like you live here. Turn on these alerts. So we try and walk people through that. So there's no more like weird sign up and send me an email and verify this nonsense. And it just, you can do it right there on your phone in a couple seconds.
How long does the fire history go back?
Currently, it's only 5 years, but we're going to make it longer because, well, 10 years we've been having pretty bad fires. So when we started, it was only 5 years of bad fires. It will get longer.
So it's recent, more recent.
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah. we should come to another one and give you guys I'll give you a TED talk about how I did all this. It's a long story, and we're still writing it, but I'm happy to do it.
Go to the TED Talk, yeah, I'll find out.
Well, I'm happy to give you a longer lecture at another point, because everyone wants to hear how I did it. I'm happy to talk about the ins and outs, how I run the business, and how we did it. My annual report will be coming out soon, so we publish all of our numbers. We are a nonprofit, but we publish more than what the 990 requires you. 990, for you guys who know, is the form you must fill out for a nonprofit, but people hide constantly about what they're doing and what they're spending, and we do not. So in about 2 or 3 weeks, you'll see the teardown of our 990, and we go above and beyond. We talk about dollars spent per user, dollars per page view, number of staff, how much they get paid, a lot more information than most people are comfortable doing. So I'd be happy to come back for another longer talk if that's of interest to folks.
Since your app has to do, in a large part, with emergency situations and disasters, what have you done, maybe you can talk about what you've done to, strengthen your app so that it doesn't go down at a critical time?
Yeah, there's two parts of it. One part's easy to describe as the people, and so, same way that, when I hear, Lance and his crew get an all-call, right, that's when, D-Day is happening, everyone jumps into action, they have plans, we also have plans. So we have our own preparedness levels, we have extra staffing that shows up, so if there's a red flag warning coming, more people will be on staff at night, and so it's a constant, SOP or standard operating procedure problem, then that kicks into effect. And so, for the red flag warning, which was now termed a PDS, potentially dangerous situation that happened in LA, we knew that was happening 5 days in advance. People started clearing their schedules. We started preparing that. We knew it was going to be bad. The minute it ignited, we saw the images. We knew it was going to be a life-changing event. And so we cleared our schedules and did what we had to do for about a month, and didn't really sleep very much. But that's what we're built to do. And then to backfill that, we've been we probably added double the staff this year. So now we're at 50 paid staff and 300 volunteers. And so it's becoming a really big operation. So it's constantly growing our organization and our process so that we do have the staff. When we first started this, we didn't have nights off. No one took a night off for years. Now we give them days off. We have rotations. Same with the firehouse. They have A, B, and C, and D shift depending on how big the fire department is. I don't think Lance's department's that big, but you go to LA, and they have like massive shifts. And so we're organizing essentially the same as the firehouse would. And so we've learned from the FEMA ICS structure, and then from firehouses and how they staff and put people in rotations. So that's the people side. The operations side is a lot of software gobbledygook. I am an engineer. I just don't talk about it much anymore. But ultimately, we have a lot of donors from Google, Apple, Amazon, and others who give us free infrastructure to host all of our applications. So when something really bad happens, like LA, we don't go down. And so we have a lot of. I think our bill would have been $250,000 if we had to pay for it in January alone of last year. Because we had 2.5 million new users, 8 million users in total, and then probably 100,000 requests every second, which is twice what Wikipedia gets on an average day. And so we need to be able to really build large-scale software infrastructure, and so we hire people from Google, Apple, Facebook, et cetera, and so we have real software engineers on this. Unlike a lot of government systems, they're not built for this. They just don't have the skill set or the manpower. Just like you don't want me on the fire line, I don't want you on my keyboard, right? And so there's something that we're really good at doing, and it's called high availability. So during the LA fires, Cal Fire crashed, the AWIAs crashed, Alert LA crashed, everything went down except us. So that is very much by design. So the people, the systems, and the infrastructure are all made for disaster, not made for sunny days. Hope that wasn't too long.
Beyond the scope of this application to give advisories, when we had those mass evacuations, and so they just said evacuate, but we got bumper to bumper on the side
I would honestly look at Waze or Google Maps when that happens. You know, if I had my druthers, I would tell everyone who evacuates to turn your Apple Maps on, if you could, because then all that data feeds back into the system and everybody would see it. But of course, we're panicked, we got our cats and the kids in the car, and it's mayhem, right? But ultimately, like,
Yeah.
no one knows what's actually happening, and so it's a
Do you have
dangerous.
that kind of handles with your former colleagues like Google and all?
I mean, we work with them, but that would take you guys having Apple Maps or Google Maps up when you're trying to save your own life. So I don't really have a clear answer here, but what I can tell you is that we're not gonna tell people what road to take. We're gonna get it wrong and someone's gonna get hurt. And so we'd rather stay out of the way there.
Okay.
I know you've grown so much, what percentage of the country do you cover now?
100%.
Whoa.
Lots to do. That's a different country. A lot of fires, but we can't be everywhere. We need thousands of people to do the whole world, so it's gonna take a lot more time to really build something even bigger than what we built today. So, but stay tuned. We'll be going to Canada, going into other places, and soon we'll be doing floods, tornadoes, earthquakes, and all disasters. So that's what's really forefront to us is being the alerting system for this country, because it doesn't frankly have one. Tornadoes are probably the only good example of very, very good alerting in this country. The rest of them are just kind of ad hoc, and so it's important for us to bring a level of safety to everybody, and that's really our goal. Well, great. No more questions. I'll be in the corner when you guys need me.
You're saying about these cameras, are they all infrared?
No,
they're not.
they're not. Sometimes there's like maybe 10 that are, but not really. But at night you can see a big fire, and that is every firefighter will tell you at night it looks twice as big and 10 times as close. And it's hard to tell, unfortunately, where it actually is, and that's the reality of it. Well, thanks, guys.
So Ofer, you're up next. I'm excited about this. I did a little bit of research. I hadn't heard of metering before, and pretty cool stuff. And so I'm excited about seeing what you have here. What do you need from here?
Okay, well, I'm Ofer, but I'm also going to be remembered as the guy that followed John Mills. Because nobody here in the room has meter me, except there is one CEO of Watch Duty that uses meter, so that's good enough for me. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what happens after Watch Duty. We do a lot in our communities. I'm from Napa, Gordon Valley, Napa, and we do everything to prevent fires from starting, spreading. We do mitigation. We have goats and weed abutments and what have you. But at some point, prevention fails, as we know. Otherwise, there wouldn't be Watch Duty. Because when prevention fails, that's another circle, or it's another event beyond the actual fire. And a simple way to think about it is, I call them the responsibility circles, okay? And the responsibility circles, they kind of shift are from awareness to action pretty quickly. So if you look at the circles here, so the first circle is actually where John just left us. That's where you hear about a fire starting 5, 10, 20, 30 miles away from your home. You're glued to watch duty. I am. It's, you know, you can judge a lot of people by what they have on their homepage for the phone, so there's watch duty and meter me here. You do also follow other apps, right, like the wind directions, which is not included. PG&E will probably tell you, hey, we're shutting off your power, so you're gonna get some alerts. And this is where you could still, plan. But when the prevention fails and it gets into the 5 miles or into the 1 mile, things change, right? So now you're maybe not even on watch duty anymore because the fire is, you can see it with your bare eyes. I see that head's moving because I've been there too. And now you're switching to maybe two-way radios with whoever is left in the neighborhood. Meshtastic, if you're into that technology. You're starting to pack, the pets, your cat is being introduced to a cage that they haven't been since you got them. And at some point, if you are not evacuating, a sheriff's car will come up. I've been there. And they have this like really big siren on top of the car. It's really interesting why they carry that 1950 siren on. And they will ask you politely to leave. You can refuse. Depending on the circumstances, some people can stay, some people can't. I'm not advocating what you do, but I'm just saying that as that circle shrinks, things change. We're not longer into watch duty. We're now, if you stay, you're either in shock or you have this like, I'm going to be a superhero, and at some point, if you do stay, you become a firefighter. And some of us have. And if you don't stay, firefighters hopefully come in and save your home. But that narrow circle is now different, right? It's a lot about actions, and also a lot of the things that happen in those circles are things that you thought about and prepared a year before. Nothing that you do at that time really impacts the outcome of that small circle. In fact, I'm going to exit this for a second. I'm going to open up Google Earth. I'm going to move it over here so you can see it. So, can you see the red circles? Yeah. Right. So this is the 5 mile. This home here is a typical home in Napa County in a rural northern California community. I'm going to zoom in there so you can see it a little bit better. There you go. Now, it happens to be my home. But for privacy reasons, I'm sharing mine, but it's not any different than, most of us out in the country. I talked to Clay earlier, communities range from 5 to 300. Ours happens to be 83. So here are the circles. So this is the 5 mile circle. At the 5 mile circle, it's pretty big. You still have 2 or 3 roads to escape from. You're still watching watch duty, and you're making decisions, and you're also being told what to do at this point. So the responsibility for what's happening with you is not with you; it's with agencies and public information. But when you come down to the 1 mile, you're literally down to 1 road exiting from here. And that's it. So now you really need to make a decision. Am I exiting, or am I going to stay, protect the house? It's time to take action. When you come to the 2,500 radius from your home, you're thinking about the goats that you let graze a couple months ago. And those goats actually are now, their results are now slowing down, the progression of the fire. As you come closer to the house, 500 feet circle, radius or even the 150 feet, you're no longer actually into circles at this point. You're at home, okay? And when you're that close, and you're no longer in circles, you are in something else that I call here, I think this is the checkbox, you're into a system now. You're into the hardening that we did, right? So if you took actions to harden your home, you're not gonna replace the vents right now. So if you did replace the vents, they're going to help right now. But a lot of us are starting to have fire suppression systems. For some of us, it's just a hose with the pool and a pump. For some of us that, we know some people like this, it's a multi-million-dollar gel system with, flying saucers. And anywhere in between, your fire suppression can have all sorts of, shapes and forms. And it involves a lot of different things, right? So over here, like, this is my system. You can actually see it live here. And you can see there's tanks, and there's, water trough, and there's the propane for the generator, and pressure, and sprinkler system, and stuff like this. I'm gonna go back to the presentation. So we're moving from circles to systems that we now have to worry about at the house level. All right, there we go. But it's not just one system, right? It's many systems. It's the electricity, it's the propane, it's the generator, it's the internet, the Starlink, the LTE, the Wi-Fi, the fixed wireless, the fiber, all of those things. So there's a lot of parameters. And what's interesting about those systems at home that are now left alone, remember we started at that 520 miles, 1 mile, 2,500, and now we're into the house. What's there is what's going to save, your home or not. And those things, just like any other systems, they're like a chain. And a chain of systems, as you know, like as the saying goes, breaks at the weakest link. So any one of these things that break, your entire fire suppression breaks. If you're counting on telecommunication, on Wi-Fi for it to operate, and you lost power and you don't have routers, then you don't have, the system. If you're counting on a backup generator because PG&E is going to be off, and you run out of propane, the system is not going to work. If you're counting on the pump because you don't have a tank that is up the hill in order to create natural pressure, and the pump is not working, you're not going to have a system. So it's just like, it can break in so many places. In fact, I wrote a white paper, and I think we identified 20 or 22 points where one system could break at the home. And there's just a lot of things that happen there. And this is also where we come in, okay? It is a for-profit, but because we install a lot of equipment at the home, or our installers. And this is what MeterMe does. We provide you visibility to the systems that protect your home. The water, the sprinklers, the generators, the propane, the valves, the pressure in the pipes. Every aspect of your home is visible in our app. And we'll show you that today. In fact, I'm going to show you a little bit the app right now, and then you can come by later and take a look at it with the scene here. Can everybody see my phone? Yeah. Can everybody see Watch Judy? Yeah. I mean, as soon as John asked, I was like, yeah, I have it. I feel like the principal is asking you, who doesn't have Watch Duty on their phone? Anyway, but we're launch MeterMe. So this is the same system that you saw on Google Earth over there. And you can see that I can track everything in my house. This is one of the most important tanks. This is our fire suppression tank. And I can see in real time the information of how much water there is here. I can see a history of it, you know, I can even document it, where it is located. There's a fire hydrant connected to it. I can see the fire hydrant, I can see that there's pressure in it. And that's really, really important, especially with the next point. I could track, in 2017, the Atlas fire, some of you remember. This was, I only had one tank. It was this one, the Midway tank. This was by my house. I decided to stay. Wife and daughter went to stay with friends. And I'm like, hey, I got water. I had this one and I had another one connected to it, 5,000 gallons. What could be wrong? And the fire comes, makes a turn on Twin Sisters, rolls down into Wooden Valley, crosses the road, and comes into our community. And I'm like walking, just like, oh, I'm just gonna go check to see that I have water. The tanks were empty. Ooh. I have a picture of it. The tanks were empty, and I'm like freaking out. I'm calling Joe George, our neighbor, who is also a plumber and an electrician. Like, Joe, can you help? And his sons are in the fire department, so I don't have water. And sure enough, at 10 p.m., coming, we're fixing the water, and we're starting to build the pressure back into the system. By 4 a.m., the wind died, and the firefighters were able to stop the wind, and it was just at our gate. And I remember that, just like, if you're going to invite John and he'll tell you how he came up with watch duty, that was the moment, like, told me, like, I'm not going to stay without knowledge of water in the system anymore. And, and meter me was a residual of that, right? Because there's no way you're going to catch me without water. So I have full visibility, not only of water tanks, I can even see if the horses, have trough. I can see if somebody forgot the gate open or not. I can operate sprinklers, which I'm not going to do right now because I'm going to get a call from my wife, but I can operate the fire sprinklers. The fire sprinklers can be operated even when there's no cell reception. They can operate without Wi-Fi. Every neighbor that has meter me, and there are now hundreds throughout Napa, is failing over to the other one. So if John has meter me, and John's neighbor have meter me, but John's network goes down, the neighbor's meter me system will help connect his devices. Chapelet on Pritchard Hill, when they lose, on Pritchard Hill on the east side of Napa, when they lose, and they have 70 of these sensors on their system, when they lose connectivity, when they lose power, when they lose cell reception, the entire meter me system jumps over 14 miles to the west side of Napa, automatically. So it's pretty resilient, and here's what we have, here's what we did extra. So to increase the chances that your house survives, and this is the kind of the final demo of metering, but you can come see us at the table here. We connected MeterMe to Tablet Command. What's Tablet Command? Tablet Command is what firefighters, like Mr. Lars here, have on their truck. So most trucks in California now have an app, not related to us. It's another app. It's called Tablet Command. It has all the incidents. It's kind of like it's a control panel in the fire truck. So firefighters can look at the status. They can see, information. I think they're connected also with watch duty, helicopters, resources, and stuff like this. And Tablet Command now has meter. So if you're a homeowner and you decide to share your tank or your hydrant with the fire department, firefighters can now see your tank on their fire truck in real time. Not just like, oh, we have a map that says that this person has 30,000 gallons. This person has right now 25,622 gallons as of 5 minutes ago. So they can make real decisions. They can see the type of hydrant connection. They can see if the hydrant has pressure. They can see where it is. You can share a photo with them so they can recognize how it looks like when they, the fire truck comes in at night or under the thick cover of smoke. So, like, for example, same thing, so here's my home, the one that you just saw before. So, that's the hydrant by my house. It shows them exactly, yes, it's online, it has pressure, what's the pressure, the tank, how much, 2,344 gallons, but this house also has a 10,000 gallon here and another 25, and everything in real time. And this is shared if you decide to share it with the fire department. Okay, the homeowner has the chance to toggle these things on and off. Now, Tablet Command, last week, there was a question that some communities were asking, well, is it available for our firefighters? Okay, because the meter me got integrated initially to the LNU, right? So that's Solano, Napa, Sonoma Lake, and y'all? The LNU.
Yolo, Solano.
Solano, Napa.
Yeah.
There's 6 of them, no? Yeah. But there were communities like in San Luis Obispo, Monterey, others that were asking, can we get metered? And it required integration, etc. So it was kind of like a big overhead. By the way, you can take a look and see there's a lot of meter throughout Napa, hundreds of them. Last week, Tablet Command added meter me to the wildland layer. The wildland layer is available to all firefighters throughout the state, including this is the wildland layer this is wildland layer, and I'll zoom in, and that's the layer that has the Alert California. It has the the cameras that John was showing. Hold on, it's loading it. And sorry about the network here, and it now has meter. It will load in a minute. I'm like John, I'm like struggling with the network here issues. There you go. Meter reloaded in the wildland. So every firefighter in the state of California, if you guys install meter me, every firefighter can see it because that wildland layer is available to all the firefighters. Yeah, questions?
Does it do a blanket authorization?
You can do a blanket authorization to all your components, or you can also go and turn one at a time off.
So if you were having an emergency thing, you'd have it pre-authorized so they would have access?
Well, you're not giving them authorization, you're sharing the information that you have water, okay? In all fairness, when you're not there, they're not asking. Okay, they're going and they're chasing water as much as they can. But they will make decisions. This is kind of like, this is not a guarantee, but it helps firefighters make an educated decision. Lars can talk about it, of, do we go up a 4,000 feet driveway? And we don't know if they have, water. Oh yeah, they do. They have 10,000. They have a 4-inch, coupler in it. We can go up 10,000 should save this house. Or maybe this house is not in danger, but the neighbor's house is in danger, and it would take them an hour to go back to the station to fill up, but they can borrow water from the neighbor or a pond. Continuum, Castello, Chapelet, come up with what other names? The wineries that have meter.
Cape Red.
Cape Rail, San Lorenzo, they all have meter, they're here in Hillsburg. And so a lot of those wineries actually share ponds, right? So those have tens of thousands of gallons. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So in every instance where there's water on someone's property, it does give the firefighters information about how they can hook up and take the water out?
If you have meter me and you decide to share, yes.
Okay.
You have to have a sensor.
Got it.
Because they do have data about where there is tanks and reservoirs, but they don't have data whether those tanks and reservoirs are filled. With a meter me sensor, you actually transmit real-time information.
I have a question on the tank, so you've got the stainless concrete and you got.
I don't care.
The poly you can melt.
What's that?
Poly will melt.
Well, I mean,
That's what I'm saying. Are we
Okay.
talking about stainless steel tanks or?
I don't know if I can do this. Let me show you something. This is dangerous to do, right? to show you something live, but I'll do that. So I thought about what you brought up. Now Linda will really figure out like what's going on. Okay, so I don't know if we could see this. So yeah, this is so there's a poly tank here. If you close the lights, you might be able to see it. Okay. I actually have a fire sprinkler that protects this tank. I don't know if you could see it, but it's running. Okay, so I just turned on. So when the fire sprinklers turn on, they actually also soak the poly tanks as well. There's no way this. I mean, if you saw this in the daylight, it is now soaked. There's no way this is being burned.
So like I have a cluster leak.
Yeah.
And when the fire came through, there was a million calls, they could all,
Right, of course.
so.
And MeterMe can also help them, in various, every other hydrant was empty. But with something like MeterMe, they can like, okay, we're not gonna spend time going to a dry hydrant, we're just gonna go to a wet hydrant.
And what was the reason that your two holding tanks were empty when you needed them?
I have a picture of it. It was just a pipe burst. It was just a pipe burst. Yeah, I don't know if I can find it real quick. If not, I'll find it and I'll show you. There was just we have a really big, long system. It had like 300 PSI on it, and a coupler broke. But it's interesting that you mentioned that the coupler broke, but water was still flowing into the house. So I did not know that I was missing. So the pump was able to still keep going and filling water into the house, but it was not enough to fill the tank. Like the worst scenario you can be in, right? Thank you.